SouthernRapNews.com.
I said, bitch, as long as your pussy is, it's a goddamn sin. I got a hold of iron and vote across your chest.
So let me ask you this now. Since we on the explicitness, it's no secret that 2 Live definitely went through the big thing with censorship. How did all of that get kicked off, man?
Well, basically what happened is that, see, a lot of people don't understand that when we say that we were independent, we were thoroughly independent. I'm talking about roadway freight, pie freight, all of the different freight companies were pulling up to our building, taking pallets of records to the distributor. That's independent. Our product was right there in the house with us. At the building, at the offices, the people would come, we would ship the stuff out to the independent distributors, 30 days, 60-day terms, whatever, and that's how the business was being handled. And what happened is that since it was a black-owned company, no whites was involved in it, no white investors, no nothing. It was just money that we was getting from the parties, and and from the records selling through. Since whites didn't really have their hands on it, they was paying for the product, but they weren't investors, and there was nobody that could vouch for what it was that we were doing. So outside of it, we had sold like 1 million copies of these records, and none of these white folks actually had their hands in any of the proceeds. So basically, what ended up happening is since this guy won't sell out, or we can't buy into what it is that's going on with him, we're going to slow his roll about getting this stuff into these stores. So they flipped it, since Broward County declared one of our albums to be obscene, it made worldwide news and, pulled the sheet off of what it was that we were doing. We had already sold 1 million records, and a lot of our fans were white kids. So basically what happened is that, it became a big deal, but, we dropped the ball, and I think we were just too young to understand the significance of what we had actually did. Luke really, instead of Luke explaining what it was that we were doing, Luke put more gasoline on the fire, which in turn made, these whites that was in power more infuriated. If we would have, in retrospect, if we would have talked about how the records were being put together, more so from a comedy standpoint, because that's basically how they were being put together, we might not have caught as much flack as we actually did, because Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, Dolomite, all of these people that made movies, but their main thing was bad about business, talking about all kind of shit. Right. We do one little thing, and we're made out to be the ones that created the whole shit.
Okay. So when it did crack down, what was the overall tone of the group? We know that you all stood strong through it, but was it like, how worried were you all?
No, we really didn't know. We didn't really take it that serious, because we knew that at the end of the day, this stuff comes from joke albums and stuff like that. So how could they even really look at us the way that they're looking at us? They ain't do that with George Carlin and Richard Pryor, Eddie Murphy, Andrew Dice Clay, none of them. But but why are they picking on us?
Right. Okay. So what's the status of 2 Live Crew these days?
Well, everybody, we're on to everybody's like everybody's on some every man for himself shit. There's a bunch of internal BS that's going on with the group members, business that was handled in another way that's biting us in the ass to this very day. Bunch of different little things. So, Marquise and Kid Ice, they still go out and go do shows, but it's under particular circumstances. Luke does what it is that he does. He has a Little League football thing that he does, and he has a bunch of different markets in the United States where that stuff is going on. I still go and DJ at different little events and produce and do records with different dudes. I did. I don't know if you're familiar with this one song. I did Slim Thug's one of his first big records that was played a lot on the radio. That had the Pac-Man sample in it. Yeah, that's one of my records. That's one of my productions.
Okay. Well, I was gonna say this for later, but since you stepped on production, I always felt that you were really one of the premier producers. I mean, just to this day, when I pull out my old 2 Live albums, the production's always top notch. And back then, I think more so than now, we really used to like to ride and beat the trunk up. And your production, I mean, was top notch when it came to that. Do you feel that you get your props as a producer, or the necessary props, I should say?
This is the biggest problem when you're with a group. See, our whole thing is when it initially started off, and this is where it was kind of a bad thing to do, but we weren't thinking about it at that time. Nobody was tripping off of getting individual credit. If you look on the credits on the early albums, everything says written and produced by 2 Live Crew. It didn't have individuals. But when Nasty's We Want to Be started really getting notoriety, the liner notes got changed to produced by Luke and the 2 Live Crew. Oh. So it became a thing to where a lot of people start thinking that Luke was handling the music stuff. Luke never handled the music stuff. He came up with some ideas and concepts of certain songs and certain vocals that he did, but all the production was my work. So a lot of people just don't know. They don't know no better. And it's more so because of how it was put out there that they don't know no better.
Okay. All right. Well, you besides the Slim Thug album, what's some more records that you got circulating out that the world may or may not know is by Mr Mixx?
I did a couple of records with Lil Flip on his first album. What was the name of the song that I did on his very first album that went through Columbia? 713 song. I did that. Afro Man, I did a couple of things with him after the Because I Got High record came out.
Okay.
Did something on with the Ghetto Boys on their on that I don't know if the name of the album, the last Ghetto Boys album that got put out, The Resurrection, I think. I'm not sure if that was the name of it. But the one that they had out maybe a couple of years ago.
Okay.
Did some records with them. Did stuff with Devin the Dude. Did some stuff with Jack. I'm good with rap a lot now.
Okay.
And most of the other stuff, I mean, I try to catch up with different cats, you know what I mean? But at the same time, I'm not running behind these niggas, you know what I'm saying? It's like if I cross paths with them and we can figure out something, then we do it. But for the most part, you know, I'm just, you know, kind of on my own page. I got a rapper out of Miami. His name is Problem 13, and I'm doing some records on him. And I'm mainly just, you know, staying in my own backyard. I'm really on some I'm on some NASA shit right now. I ain't, you know, everybody ain't in my backyard trying to. I don't really allow too many people up and around me because, you know, people get paid off of ideas.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it just depends on who your lane, who it is that you're dealing with, to where you're able to make your ideas come to life. You know, because all of the people that, you know, they all bite the same drum patterns, the same 808 drum machine sounds. You know, a lot of these cats that's making tracks don't even know those sounds come off of one particular drum machine. They just know the sounds when they hear it, but they don't know what machine it comes from.
Okay, well, let me guess. Let me see if I got myself together. I'm not a producer, but would that be the SP12, the TR-808,
well,
one of those?
well, the 808 drum machine it's a rolling drum machine.
Okay.
All of the sounds that these cats is using in these records, the main drum parts, they come from that machine. Now, SP1200, that was an easier machine. It's a sampler machine. So what people was doing back in those days was taking the sounds out of the 808 drum machine and transferring them into the SP1200 because it was easier to be able to program and to be able to keep the sounds on different discs. The 808 drum machine could only hold maybe like 16 patterns and 4 drum fills, so it wasn't a good machine to be able to hold a bunch of information on.
SouthernRapNews.com